All right, Travis, give me some good advice on measuring the effectiveness of your security program.
Take your cyber insurance policy, map every clause in the policy to controls, continuously monitor your controls, and prove to your board that if you have a breach, you will always get the claims paid.
I like that. All right. Tony, I want you to do the flip of that. Give me some bad advice on measuring the effectiveness of your security program.
Bad advice. I've got so many. I don't know where to start, but let me give you this will be a layup for Shravish. Believing everything that's written in a security questionnaire.
Ooh, that is all right. Sravish, one up him. Give me some words of advice on
It's going to be tough.
measuring the effectiveness of your security program.
Get a bottle of tequila, sit on a couch with your security team, and throw darts on a dartboard with a 5x5 matrix on the dartboard to do your quarterly risk assessments.
All right. Well, that's pretty bad advice. Let's start a show.
Get ready. It's Super Cyber Friday.
Welcome, everybody, to Super Cyber Friday. Today's topic is hacking provable security. Are my levels good, Rich? I realize we didn't test this. How we sounding? Good? Give me a thumbs up in some way. Hey, an hour of critical thinking on how to go beyond security ratings and questionnaires. We were just referencing that. So let me just go through the quick stuff so we can get into the show right away. Our guest, who you just saw, Tony Spinelli. He's the former CISO over at Capital One, and also Sravish Sridhar, who's the founder and CEO of TrustCloud. TrustCloud, by the way, is our phenomenal sponsor for today's episode. So thank you, TrustCloud, for making this episode possible. All right, lots of different ways to participate. We have a chat room. Here's our bad idea, and I think you guys are going to do very well at it. Best security theater practice that does not do anything. All right, just it's kind of redundant, but we just make sure it's security theater. Many people may believe it does something, but it does literally nothing. Then you'll submit how to also your 10% better tips, like how to actually prove the effectiveness of your security program. Join us on video at any time with Bring Me On. Just type it. We'll do the best to get you on. Ask a question to our guest. If you look on the right-hand side, there's a bunch of little icons. There's a question mark there, speech bubble. Click on that. Ask a question. I will get to them as many as I can throughout the show. All right. Our schedule, we have basics of good advice, bad advice, worst advice, the bad idea, 10% better tips. We'll play public interest, and we have a brand new game, Google Feud. You're going to get involved in that as well. Then last questions answered. Then we'll do our meetup. If you have never come to one of our meetups before, please do that. By the way, I also want to mention we do not have another episode scheduled right now. We're going to take a break for a few weeks. We're going to readjust some things, so that's why we're not advertising the next show. So that is not being advertised right now. But if you're interested in sponsoring another episode, we can talk about that later. All right, let's get to today's topic at hand, which is hacking provable security. And we were just chatting just beforehand, Travis, and you said that the CISO sort of needs to level up its sort of recognition, their presence, and their value to the team and proving it, and hence our topic here. Give me a little more background of what we want to sort of prove in our discussion today or get to in our discussion today.
Every CISO I talk to, David, tells me that it's really hard to keep proving a negative. And the negative is, did we get hacked or not?
Right.
And it's difficult to communicate to your leadership, the rest of the company, and to your board the effectiveness of your security program. And so the thought process today is to find ways in which you can empower CISOs and their teams to prove the effectiveness of the security program and the positive business impact that it's having on the business.
Okay, that's a really, really good point because, and by the way, this is going to, it'll hit home with our audience because there is a little bit of a Rodney Dangerfield, I get no respect attitude here in cybersecurity. Tony, have you ever felt that before?
Constantly, right? It's like you're pulling or sometimes even pushing rope, to make sure you're able to demonstrate, you're doing the right things, but also, substantively working towards making things better in the security group.
Yeah. And by the way, the thing that is kind of irritating is the only time they know about you, hear about you, care about you is when things are going wrong.
Yeah.
And you don't want that. So I think anytime we can sort of show a win, and actually, let's also this 10% better tip. please type in the chat room like how you show a win, like how the security department can just show it's doing well. I would love to see more tips of that. I would, because I think that's something we can all really get behind, is how to show a win. All right, get your questions in, and also bad ideas are coming in. So Aman Sood, was that a bad idea? He didn't label it bad idea. All right, make sure. All right, let's get to our other questions. So one of the things we talk about is questionnaires, and that is, quote, the way we prove cybersecurity. And one of the kind of classic lines, and we've sort of aligned a quote, and one of our producers brought this up with the common Winston Churchill line of, we know it's no good, but it's the best of the bad, or I'm not even quoting it correctly, but it's the best one we have. It's the worst one we have, unlike all the other ones we have, which are even worse than that. That's where we're at. Like, we use something where we all accept it stinks, but we still use it, don't we, Sravish and Tony? Tony, you're nodding your head. I'll go to you first.
Yeah, I mean, it's always a challenge around these questionnaires. I mean, I've only been doing it for 30 plus years, so I'm dating myself. And, as Shravis will tell you, we've tried everything to make this both more effective and simpler. And it's just an ongoing challenge. You get a series of, 2-page documents that say answer these questions yes or no. And I think one of the big challenges, and I think for the audience is that they understand, is it's risk management and governance versus technical security. Right. The risk managers and the governance teams feel great about it, right? Because you've answered the questions, we've got the documents, we can put it away. And if anybody goes back and asks us if we did this, we can say, yeah, we did. But does this mean that you have efficacy in the security of your third and fourth parties? That's the question.
Mm-hmm. Well, all right. So, Sravish, can you have a security program that's effective working with third parties that does not involve questionnaires at all?
Before we go to third parties, David, the first question I always ask CISOs is, do you know if your applications and IT infrastructure are secure or not?
Well,
in other words, is your first party secure? Forget the third parties. Is your internal environment secure or not? And most CISOs can't answer that question. Why? Because they have every security tool on the planet, and every security tool is generating signals and vulnerabilities. But there is no way to bring it all together and quantify what are the gaps and what are the risks across the entire stack of an application. And so they resort, to Tony's point, to using tools to send out security surveys internally, and they're basing their governance program and their security risk assessment program based on surveys.
Yeah, and I think, David, the challenge has been, and you've seen, and this goes back a decade, where you saw companies start popping up to bridge the gap of security questionnaire to now we're going to tell you provably about somebody's external facing footprint, about how well they're doing security. That's really, gone by the wayside and failed a lot of times, right? Because it's not accurate. It doesn't give you what I call substantive testing around ensuring your third and fourth parties and your connected vendors can really have a security footprint that you rely on. To me, relying on, questionnaires and pieces of paper is really hope as a strategy. You're certainly hoping nothing goes wrong there, and you're hoping that they have operational effectiveness. And there's some good examples of this. Let's take one example. You get a questionnaire, and on the questionnaire says to me, do you have a security operating center? And maybe there's sub bullets that say, do they monitor? Do they aggregate all the alerting, right? Sure. And those might be yes, so that you put that away and you say, well, that's great. The problem is you haven't asked them anything about effectiveness. Right. Do you have, are you monitoring all the endpoints of every place that those things are? Are you correlating that? What's the performance? How do you think about this as a performative way rather than I have these things? There's a huge gap between there's I have this and then it does well, right? And it works effectively.
I have a security program, and my security program is I have an ADT sticker on my window at my house. That's what that's what it is. I want to call out this because this speaks to what you were saying, Sravish. This quote from James Sparenberg here. Security is now suffering from the problem ops has for years. Nothing is broken. What do we need you for? Followed by, it's broken. Why do we have you? I kind of like.
Well, think of it this way, David. You know, I'm sure a lot of people here watch, sports games, basketball, football, hockey, whatever you like to watch. But I can tell you the one thing that everybody loves, and it's like a security practitioner, is at the end of the game, when nobody talks about the referee, that's a CISO. At the end of the day, when no one's talking about the CISO, they've done an amazing job.
Right.
But I think we have to do a better job of saying that, right? Is that, look, when you don't asking questions, things are performing, the investments you're making in security are the right ones, and you don't hear about them. We have to educate executives and leaders to understand that's the good referee at the soccer match that refereed everything fairly, right?
That's a very good point. All right. Well, then hold it. So, Sravish, you were talking about internal security. Why do we then see different standards between our internal and our external? Shouldn't it be exactly the same?
I think your external posture should be derived from your internal posture, and that's a huge gap in the industry today. I think the third-party process has been derived from public questionnaire templates, Cake, SIG, et cetera, whereas your internal posture is based on controls that you've started to put in place over time. And nobody has brought both of those two things together. And I think what I see forward-thinking CISOs doing these days is that they're holding both their internal application security posture and their third parties to the same standard. So in other words, using a common control framework to derive assessment criteria for their internal applications and infrastructure, as well as their third parties, and assessing everybody for risk the same way.
And I mean, it sounds good. How hard of a lift is this, by the way?
It is a process change. It is a process change. And I think what I find is that's being done by CISOs and their teams that fall into two categories. The first is if it's a new CISO that's coming into an organization and has the ability to affect change in the organization, or if it's CISOs that have just gone through breaches and need to come up with new ways to do it. But it is a process change. And if you don't do the process change, then you continue to sit like, the frog in the pond where the water is boiling. You think everything's okay, but it's not, and it's only getting worse and worse.
I want to call it, Anatoly's calling you out on this external and internal being 100% aligned. I don't know if I fully agree with this line here. He says, can't say I agree with Sravish on an external and internal being 100% aligned. This will essentially eliminate all startups from consideration as vendors. No, not true at all. I don't believe. In fact, this is what prevents vendors from playing. If they can't get up to speed, like the classic story I hear, big enterprise company would love to work with this new startup, but they can't, they don't have a damn SOC 2 report. They can't align with ever the security requirements, protocols of enterprise. So that's the failure of the startups. Sravish?
Can I say something the opposite to Anatoly?
Your thoughts?
I actually think it's the reverse.
Sure.
I think startups will pass the assessment. I think the enterprise will fail. And you actually have to stop doing business within your enterprise, because if you truly implement a continuous monitoring and an accurate representation of your security posture, most enterprise applications and IT infrastructure will fail that assessment. Startups might succeed because they're much more nimble, they're cloud native, easier to secure. Most enterprise environments might fail.
A problem that the enterprise has.
Yeah.
Yes.
I think enterprise scope is too big, just like Chris mentioned. They're on-premises and cloud-based. They have highly fragmented infrastructure. If you're truly going to introspect the enterprise environment, it might fail.
Sean agrees with you. Startups can be far more lean. Hold on. There we go. Why is that not popping up? Try to get this to pop up. What? It'll pop up soon enough. All right, let's get to our first game. We have a game here. I want to get the two of you involved in it. So there it is. Startups can be far more. Here's our first game. Here we go.
Do you know what others are thinking? on the public interest.
All right, this is a fun game. We get the whole audience to play along as well. 4 questions. Let's see if you can get these. It's going to make sense to you right away. Oh, by the way, I'm wearing a T-shirt from them here. It says, I can't even read it from here. Read it for me.
Says friends don't
Travis,
send
it's
friends.
your T-shirt.
Security
What does it say?
questionnaires. It says friends don't send friends. Security questionnaires.
Friends don't send friends. Quick. Security question. There you go. All right, here we go. First question here. Most average monthly search queries, security professionals alone. I have not seen this. This was produced by our, we're getting some lag with me. I'm getting some lag. Am I getting lag right now? Because that's why Sravish was delayed in responding to me. I may have to refresh my screen if that's the case. Am I getting lag? I guess I am. Yes, I am getting lag. All right. I'm going to hold it. I'm going to reboot, or no, I'm going to refresh. I'm coming right back. Everyone discuss amongst yourselves this.
Tony, what do you think the game is going to be?
That's a good question. I didn't see much up there. I saw something about monthly search queries.
Well, if anybody wants a friends don't send friends security questionnaires T-shirt, feel free to send me a note or a DM, and I'll connect with you and I'll send it your way. I also need your T-shirt size. Tony, I know you said you want a large.
Yeah, I'll probably wear it every day, so they could get a little stinky. But I think it's security questionnaires are been a bane of, I think, most of our challenges.
All right. So Lisa wants one. Andrew wants one. Kunal wants one.
Sean for sure wants one.
We might have a mechanism for that with a poll coming up that you might be able to select if you are so interested in both learning more about Trust Cloud and getting a free T-shirt.
Yeah, this like Anatoly said, AI will eat it.
Yeah, Anatoly, a term I use a lot with a lot of customers and users. GRC stands for governance, risk, and check the box. That's the next T-shirt we're going to print. I'd love to send you that one, Anatoly.
The game we're going to be playing when David rejoins us is called The Public Interest. This is producer Rich here, in case anybody is just wondering who this voice is. And let me just pop on the video real quick here, and I'll jump on. So David is refreshing here. Let me pop on the main stage here. So I will be navigating you through the start of this game. Hey, everybody. Great to be on the show right now. Let me just make up the right one. Yes. Okay. So what this game is going to be is it's called The Public Interest, as I've mentioned before. And this is where we ask you which of these search terms is the most popular. Now, I have custom curated these through love and affection. Let me just see. Yeah, we can get that up there. And these are terms relevant to provable security, at least I thought. So we're going to start out here. You're just going to choose between this. There's really no rhyme or reason to this. It's just going off pure gut feeling. These do come from Google. And so I don't know if that's going to help you. So our first one here is prove or show. Now, we got the show me state. We got proving, as in, I don't know, evidentiary stuff. Tony, what do you think here? Prove or show more popular here?
I'm a B. I'm a show.
Okay, you want to show the answer. Sravish, what do you think?
I'll go with show too.
All right, let's see here if we're going to start out perfect, or will we make me happy here? Oh, yes, indeed, show. An easy choice, considerably more popular. I do apologize to, let's just see here, Lisa and Brigitte getting it wrong right off the bat. It's okay. You're still right. Next up here, we have, it gets a little harder as it goes along here. We have classification, monitoring, or verification. Sravish, just looking here, what sticks out to you as potentially the most popular here?
I will take C.
Take C, classification. All right. Now, just remember, these are general Google search queries, not cybersecurity specific, anything like that. Just keep that in mind.
Okay.
So do you want to change your answer?
I do. I will take D.
Okay. I keep in mind, I immediately forget what the answers are to any of these after I put these together. So I'm not trying to help anybody here. Tony, what do you think here?
Well, I was going to take D but Travis changed his answer, which we know is illegal. So in that case, I'll go to C.
All right, we got D and C. Let's see what's going to happen here. Oh, I am so sorry. Verification coming through, taking away the perfect game, but that's okay. We're still tied. Everybody has 1 point here. Great. Kevin voted for X. So falling on a sword there. I appreciate that, Kevin, very much so. Did anybody get E? Larry. Nice job, Larry, on that one. All right. Next up here, we have certification, questionnaire, or scorecard. What is standing out here? Tony, I'm going to go with you here.
I'll go scorecard.
Scorecard. Now, you can change your answer. Since Shravish did last time, you can change your answer if you'd like to.
No, I'm
you're locked in on scorecard.
Mm-hmm.
And Shravish, what do you think?
I will go with F, certification.
You will go with F. So let's see what we got here. Oh, okay. It's still locked in. It's a dead heat.
Crushed.
This is
Tony, you and I are bad at this game.
Man,
nice job, Lewis. Is anybody 3 for 3 in the chat? This is what I'm always excited for. If somebody's going for perfect here, Lisa's 0 for 4. So what I'm going to go with is that's still perfect as far as I'm concerned here. And of course, we saved the hardest question for last here. We have assessment, attestation, audit, or framework. I was trying to go for all A's, and then I couldn't do it. So Sravish, what do you think here? Which one stands out to you?
I was just going to say that Lisa is continuing to show why she's such a great CISO, because she's proving the negative by being 0 for 4, and she should go 0 for 5 as well. My pick is audit. K.
Audit. Okay. And then what are you thinking here, Tony?
Yeah, if it's not audit, we have a problem, I think. But I'm going to go with I, assessment.
All right. And David, the big boss man, David Spark, is back.
I'm back.
David,
hold on. Am I still lagging? Because it's
no, you're right on the money now.
I'm so sorry, everybody. I don't know if you've ever had problems with computers. I'm going with audit.
You're going with audit. Or say we have 2 audits and an assessment. It's my favorite 80s rom-com. All right, here we go. And we have assessments coming through.
Way to go, Tony, on that.
So
someone's
Tony, I believe you had 2. Yes. So we are
2.
good. Tony, you are crowned our winner. David, I will leave the rest of the show to you.
All right.
And
by the way, kudos to Rich for jumping in here to play the game that he produced.
Yeah, well done, Rich.
By the way, thank you very much, Rich, here. Thank you very, very much. And my apologies for the technical mishap, but it looks like I'm back in business here. Rich, you can kind of minimize yourself or here. I'm going to remove from stage. There you go. You're removed. Or I think I may have completely removed you. Get yourself back on in any way you can, Rich. Here, this is what I want to remove the show. There we go. And then he go. Oh, there he goes. He put himself back. All right. We have now come to the part of the show where I want to talk to you, Sravich, specifically about Trust Cloud. All right. This is you have a very bold attitude with Trust Cloud of the CISO should be very much aligned for the business. If the business is doing well, the CISO should do well. And I really, really love this philosophy you have, and it's core to your brand. Explain what Trust Cloud does.
I mean, the short version, David, is that Trust Cloud provides a security assurance platform for CISOs so that they can continuously prove how their security program is bringing business impact to the business. And they do this in 4 ways. Number 1, they show how they're reducing the security risk associated with their both internal apps and external third-party apps. That's number 1. Number 2, they show how their security program is accelerating the ability to achieve and maintain compliance, because nobody does compliance out of the goodness of their heart. They do it to drive revenue. And so the faster you can achieve compliance, the more your business can grow. The third is it helps you answer security questions faster, so you can support revenue. And the last piece is it shows your CFO how you're meeting your contractual obligations with your customers, your regulators, and your cyber insurance providers, so that you're not going to get sued for hundreds of millions of dollars.
And then, correct me if I'm wrong, Tony, you are a customer of Trust Cloud, yes? or
Yeah,
were a
was
customer?
were.
You were a
Yeah,
customer.
absolutely. Great
What?
product, great capability. Really forward thinking in terms of controls and also the use of, things like that we need to use, which is AI. I think that's one of the things that's going to help this space is using artificial intelligence to analyze the data and get more substantive, which we talked about earlier in the show, is that, these questionnaires with a lot of yes, no, with no substantive capability is really where, the challenge is to rely on these things.
It appears that I'm very pixelated. Let me ask you a question, Tony. What was the situation you were in prior to coming to Trust Cloud? Like, what was your situation?
Yeah, well, the thing that you're looking to solve for is how do you manage your vendors better? How do you manage your relationships with the vendors better when it comes to security? And how do you get that confidence that you can operate the enterprise with, and every company's dealing with different things, but in a lot of times you're sharing data with your third and fourth parties. You're sharing access with your third and fourth parties, and answering questions isn't going to get you to a place where, as a CISO, you can be confident, as a risk manager, you can be confident, or even someone in the governance role, that you can drive confidence. And that's what you're trying to do with an application like Trust Cloud, is how do you create more of an ecosystem where you're getting more substantive data and substantive information around controls. And I think the thing that's exciting about Trust Cloud is you can bring more automation to all of the audit activities that you're already doing that have some substantial features in there, right? Some actual tests that are being performed. And what Trust Cloud can do is take that and leverage that. So if I'm a third party to someone else and I've already done all these audits, David, do I really want to do them again for some other third party or second party that I'm doing business with, when I can just leverage that automation? And that's what's exciting about Trust Cloud.
Very good. Well, guess what? We're going to now put up a poll for those of you who would actually like to connect with Trust Cloud, like Tony has as well. The poll is visible. Just please go to and if you can't see where the poll is, look on the icons on the right. It's the third one down. It has a little like mini bar chart on it. Go to the poll, click on it. If you would like a nice, warm handoff to the people over at Trust Cloud, we at CISO Series will make that happen. So you don't have to go through the hurdles one normally would go through. I'm sure there's no hurdles to get to you at all. But we'll make it nice and easy for you. That's our goal. All right, let's get to questions. We have some questions, but they're kind of like all over the map, people. What is it you really want to know about provable security? Isn't there things, these are kind of like all over the map questions here. Let's get to something a little bit more on target. What do you say, people? And in fact, some of these 10% better tips and bad ideas, can we call, actually, producers, can we call out some of these really good bad ideas? Because there's some really good ones here. And we're not going to be playing the Department of Yes, but we want to definitely call them out. But for those of you who are new, if you come up with a really good bad idea and that my panel of CISOs like it, you could win yourself a CISO Series jacket. All right. So, but you have to deliver something really good, and the panel of CISOs, they determine which one is the worst. And if you've already won, you an Amazon gift card, but if you're new yet, please participate. All right. So here's a bad idea right here. From Andrew Aiken. Print your admin credentials on branded mugs, T-shirts, proudly worn at Black Hat, and on the sides of Metro buses claiming our systems are so secure we fear nothing. What do you think of that, Sravish?
I love it. In fact, I'm going to try to do it in Black Hat this year.
By the way, Andrew Aiken is a multi-repeat winner of Best Bad Idea. By the way, you should put that, Andrew, on your resume. Like, I have won X number of times the bad idea.
That's really good.
And see how many people want to hire you based on that. All right. So let's get back to our questions at hand. And that is more about provable security. What let me ask you, Sravich, why don't people go down this path? I mean, your concept is so basic. It seems, why aren't we more doing it? Why have we failed at doing just this, that proving the security and essentially showing the security team as heroes?
Every time I talk to a company, I ask them two simple questions, David. I say, number one, do you know if your applications and infrastructure are secure? Can you prove it? Number two, do you know if you're meeting your contractual commitments with your customers and your cyber insurance provider? Can you prove it? And the answer 9.9 times out of 10 is, I think so. Let me get back to you. Nobody tells me no. But in effect, they're telling me no. And the problem is, we've always thought of security as silos. We've thought of it as discrete things that we want to protect the business against. But we haven't thought about it as a cohesive thing where everything meets business objectives, and based on business objectives, it derives risks. And for those risks, we're putting security measures in place. So if you start with, I need to align with a business objective that my board or my CISO or my leadership team has, and I'm going to build the connective tissue on how my security program aligns with driving those business objectives, while at the same time measuring that we are reducing the risks that are going to stop those business objectives from happening. Then you get into the provable mode, because your dashboards are aligned with what your CEO wants to report to the board. And that's what we've not done so far.
All right. So and this can be a question for both of you. It sounds awesome. It seemed, and I love, by the way, your opening tip about insurance and aligning to everything on the insurance. Where is and maybe the answer is insurance. Is there an easy start place to show a good, quick, and easy win? And I'll start with you, Sravich, and then to you, Tony. Or let's start with you, Tony, because you're nodding your head already. Where's an easy win to start with?
Yeah, I think it's three spaces, David, as a CISO. The three easy wins for you is data governance, where are my assets, and managing entropy. Those three things, right? And entropy is, as most CISOs will tell you, is around vulnerability and patch management, right? All of your technology over a period of time is going to get worse and need to be patched. And if you can manage your data, understand where your assets are, and then manage entropy, that's 80% of the CISO's headache right there.
Good tips. What would you add to that, Sravich?
Ask every company I talk to look at their top 10 customer contracts. Every one of these customer contracts have a security addendum and a DPA associated with them these days. And they have liabilities associated with it. And if you're breach of contract, you're going to get sued. So take your top 10 contracts, take the security addendum DPA and map them to controls, and check if your controls are passing or failing against your contractual commitments. Your CFO will care about that problem.
That was something we were talking about in an earlier episode of, if you want success, and this is process, and tell me how you dealt with this, Tony. Get the buy-in first. The idea of talking to your CFO is like, if we could show you this, is this what you want, or what do you want to see? I mean, what were the kind of conversations you would be having, Tony?
Yeah, I think you've got to have that, to put it in different words, David, is you got to have that coffee tour, right? You, as a CISO, you need to meet with every leader in the company, right? And have that, cup of coffee around, what are the things that you want to accomplish? How do you want to get there? Because in most businesses today, cyber can be a huge impediment, and, I saw some of the comments flowing by earlier. Someone said, the reason we have security questionnaires is because of salespeople, right? And that's what it comes down to, right? Is that sales wants to do business with other companies. And if we don't have some type of assurance, which is we've kind of relied on these questionnaires for as long as I can remember, this is 30 plus years now. That's really the challenge, is you've got to go meet as a CISO with each business leader, find out what their challenges are and how you work together to overcome them, right? And it's going to be a lot different than, we're going to fill out the questionnaire and everything's going to be fine, because we know it's not.
What has been, when you worked, when you were using TrustCloud before, what was the maybe one or two sort of result that Trust Cloud delivered that made your company or even the possible customers say, wow, like, oh, like this was a big eye-opening moment. Did you have any
yeah.
of those?
Yeah, well, a lot of it is on the internal lift, quite frankly, David. I mean, the internal teams become much more confident, right?
Mm-hmm.
We're not relying on, us throwing paper at you and you throwing paper at us, right? We're now actually getting into the brass tacks of what I call substantive security, right? You're
Mm-hmm.
leveraging automation of substantive control procedures that have been performed by whatever audit activities you have, and you go through and you leverage that into the tooling that Trust Cloud has, so that when you're connected to another vendor, they're also relieved that they're not having to recreate the wheel. We can just pull in those assessments and have that substantive view of how those controls are functioning. And I think that's a huge difference than just us relying on you answering a yes no questionnaire. And if you answered it incorrectly, well, we're going to come back and slap you on the hand or we're going to sue you. But look, if it's, if it results in a security compromise, how much does that really matter?
Right. Exactly. What about you, Sravish? What are you seeing that your customers want to be able to show off right away?
I think the most impactful dashboard, if you will, falls into one of two buckets. The first bucket is if you're a technology provider, then you are answering security questionnaires as part of every sales process. And for a CISO that works for a technology provider, the number one dashboard is how the security program is contributing to revenue.
Mm-hmm.
And you do that by using AI to complete questionnaires, not do it manually. But what the AI does is, as part of every answer that it provides, it has citations to the controls, the policies, the procedures, etc., in your program that it used to answer the question. And you're able to track how every control, how every policy was required to complete the questionnaire and therefore support revenue growth. Mm-hmm. If you're a CISO in a non-technology company, then the most effective way is to show how you're reducing the overall residual risk to the business on an ongoing basis. And that can have multiple techniques. That can have mapping into your cyber insurance policy, that can have mapping into your regulatory commitments to avoid fines, or that can map to how you are meeting all your GRC compliance requirements because you're a global organization and achieving scaling. But ultimately, it comes down to the common thread between both those answers is it comes down to what is the material business impact that you're affecting with your security program.
Very good point. All right. Let me remind everybody, the poll, go to that. If you'd like a nice handoff to Trust Cloud, go click on either of those answers in the poll. We'll do it. But I've got something exciting for everybody.
It's time to play a brand new game.
Why is this not going? Oh, there we go. There we go. We have a new game. It's called Google Feud. If you're familiar with Family Feud, it's similar to that. And there is actually a Google game of this, but I've created this slightly differently. So what you're going to do is you're going to see a prompt that one would see as you type into Google. By the way, audience, don't go to Google and start typing these in, please. But what we want you to do is contribute, and they can look at you, whatever you shout out as what you think the answer, and please feel free, Sravish and Tony, do it. But just buzz in when you get the answer, and we'll go to the other one and think it's got it. So you'll see it's the Google autocomplete. You have to guess what the next thing that's being said. So just buzz in if you think you got a good answer. The idea is, say, Tony, you buzz in, you get an answer. It's not the number one. Sravish, I'll let you steal it if you can come up with an answer that's higher up on the list than Tony. And by the way, audience, please feel free to just type in whatever the heck you think. And Sravish and Tony, lean on the audience. All right. Is phishing the same as? What do you think? Buzz in, either one.
Buzz.
What do you guys think it is?
Hunting.
Hunting? No, that's not in there. Phishing, smishing. No, what do you think? Tony? Someone's got a good answer in there. I'll just tell you right now.
Hacking.
Correct. It is the third result. 1 point for Tony. Yes, you see right there is phishing. Spam being the number one result. Is phishing the same as spam? It's not
spam.
No. All right, let's go to the next one. Do cyber criminals use, what do you think? Jump in, either one.
Passwords.
Passwords. Very close, but I'm not going to give you that one. I'm not going to give you passwords. It's very close to that, but I'm not going to give it to you because it is a different thing. What, Tony? What do you think?
Hacking tools. Can hacking tools be one?
It's not on this list. Give me another one. Stravish, go to the audience.
I'll go with what Lisa said. Keys.
What? Do they use keys? No. I'm going to go back to the thing. I'm going to give you passwords. We'll just move on from this one. They said password managers. I'm going to give you that.
Password managers.
Password managers.
Google
All right.
Chat.
There we go. Google Chat, which I find bizarre.
That's a good one.
That's recent. All right. Let's go to the next one. So who said passwords first? Was it you, Sravish, on that one?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So it's 1 and 1. We got 1 and 1 right now. I'm going to give it. How do hackers find buzz in? What do you think you know it?
Buzz.
What?
I'd say victims.
No, but we had a good answer earlier. I'll tell you that much.
My passwords.
Travis? Passwords. It's the number one answer. Yes. Passwords. All right. 2-1. You're winning. Let's go. Next one. Can a hacker see? What do you think? Buzz in.
My screen.
Number one answer. Yes.
Oh,
or your screen. Your screen. My screen. Good enough. There you go. I'm giving it to you. 3-1. Travis is kicking butt right now. Can antivirus software? What do you think?
I'll buzz in.
What?
I'll say protect me.
I'm gonna give it to you. Although it's it's a low result. I'm gonna get you one. He's kind of got it's close to one of the results, but it's low down. It's number 7 or 8 actually. What do you got? You got a better result for this? Can antivirus software? What do you think?
Block viruses.
Block viruses. No, we're going to give you. We're going to go. Oh, remove existing viruses. Yes, I'll give you that. Remove existing. So, Sravish, we're now at 4-1 right now. All right, you got to. All right, I'm going to skip this one. I'm going to skip number 6. We're going to go to. We're not going to do a hack. We're going to come back. We're going to go to the next one. Yeah, hacksaw. What is cybersecurity a good? This one you can get. What is it? Job. We'll give you the career. Same thing. Yeah. So that Tony gets it 2. 5-2. Okay, 3 more left. Let's do this quick. Why do hackers?
Tony, you go.
I'm seeing the answer.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say.
Yeah, it's got to be hack.
Why do hack? Yes, it's the number one answer. It's the number one answer. There we go. All right, 2 more. So it's 5-3 right now. You have to get the next 2. Or wait, how does it get 5-3? Because I skipped 1. I skip one. I'm doing my count wrong. Why do people click on?
Malware.
Well, I'm going to give it. It's the same thing. Phishing emails. It's the same nonsense. Yes. Why did they do that? Number 1 result. All right. Get this one and you tied up. Or actually, you're probably going to win here, actually, because I'm doing the count. How do hackers steal your? Come on, you can get this.
I own the word, right? Passwords.
Passwords. Yes.
There you go.
Steal your passwords. All right. Sravish wins. Good job. Very good. I hope you like that game. Brand new game. We played this in front of a live audience too. Anyway, thank you everybody. And by the way, lots and lots of good results in here. Awesome. Steal your identity. Yeah, Patty. All right. We have about 17 minutes left, and use your name as the buzz-in. Rich, I'm sorry I didn't see that. But yeah, they should have set their name as the buzz-in. All right, let's get back to our questions at hand. We got a lot of questions that came in, but a lot of them were kind of off target. Lisa, we got. Let me ask you: Does what kind of scanning does Trust Cloud do? Because Lewis was asking about: are you scanning third-party tools? Are you doing that with Trust Cloud?
We do not. We integrate with a bunch of third-party security tools, security scanning tools. We're also integrating with dark web tools. Like Recorded Future and so on. But we ourselves don't do any outside-in scanning.
So your job is to ingest, make sense of it all. So, right. Well, maybe you can give some advice of like what's good to ingest and to manage. Like what works really well with your platform?
I think People always ask me a kind of a vanity, what I call a vanity metric question in sales calls.
Mm-hmm.
They say, how many integrations do you have? And I think that's such a BS question.
No, I don't want to know how many. I want to know which one's good.
That's right.
I'm not going to get 1,000 products. I want to know what's the one or two that's going to work great with your tool.
That's right. And so for me, the right way to approach is actually bottoms up, which is to say, okay, you have designed a set of controls to protect your organization. And those controls have criteria that verify that those controls are operational. And so you have to start with what are the criteria that you can use to verify if your controls are operational? And to verify that criteria, what data do you need to ingest and from where? And so what we've done is over time, we've just been working really closely with customers. We've been looking at all sorts of controls, and we've seen some doozies. And maybe that's a different question we should talk about. And we've been focusing on building plumbing to various security tools, IT tools, outside-in tools, etc., to pull in telemetry and then analyze the telemetry to continuously monitor controls.
Tony, did you ever see a situation where once you started using Trust Cloud, you saw visibility into your tools you had not seen before?
I don't know if it was so much about that. I think what helps is the organizational element of it. You know, being able to aggregate data and get more insights out of data, I think is what's critical about, you know, leveraging Trust Cloud. You know, if you don't have an ability, because humans can't do this, right? You're talking about so much data aggregation and so much automation. It makes it very, very challenging if you can't have a tool like Trust Cloud that does that for you. It's just too overwhelming. Excel spreadsheets, the way we used to do this, or probably some are doing it today, just don't work. And in the volume of audits and assessments, I remember one company I was working at, we had over 117 audits a year. Digest that as a human, right? Try to digest that and then understand where your controls are and how you're doing. It's just nearly impossible to do so.
That's a really good point. Here, let me get to this question a little bit earlier. What are we not addressing here, Saravish, that people don't understand when you take on this process change of provable security? And maybe what's the hardest part for them to deal with?
I think the when you take on this idea of provable security, the number one thing that the CISO needs to be ready for is that it's going to make a lot of people uncomfortable for a period of time. They're going to be uncomfortable because it's going to unravel gaps in your internal application posture, security posture. It's going to unravel gaps in how you've been sharing your security posture with your customers. It's going to unravel gaps with your third-party risk, especially if those third parties are your sub-processors, because you don't treat them as a first party in that case. And finally, it's going to unravel gaps around your compliance posture. And it's going to create a lot of stress in the ecosystem, but you got to be ready for that because you have to start with getting people aligned on how you're going to create positive business impact before you start this process.
What about you, Tony? What was the toughest part for you?
I think it's, I think you kind of begin with the end in mind in issues like that. And it gets down to, some companies have so much scale and you're one person as a CISO and you might have a large organization. But what it comes down to is how do you know what the health of your organization is for cyber? And when you say the word health, what are the metrics, right? Like if you're going on a doctor visit, they can't keep you there all day and go through 100 different tests and 100 different metrics, right? The doctor's going to ask you a series of things that'll get you 3 to 5 metrics. And that's what I think CISOs should think about is if I want to understand the health of my organization, and I know there's a lot, and I know there's going to be a lot of bad things, what are the top 5 to 7 metrics? I think of, and to me, it really boils down to a couple things. One is, do you have visibility over everything you're doing? And you can't do that with people anymore. You need something with automation like Trust Cloud. Number 2, do you really understand where all your assets are, right? And do you have security over those assets? And then are you detecting threats, right? And if you're detecting threats, then you have a series of metrics of how quickly do you do it? How quickly do you repair these things? That's where you can make it real, because it does sound kind of boogeyman and a little scary that, you know, now we're going to see things we didn't see before. And, you know, all this automation is going to bring us stuff and the boogeyman's going to come out, right? Well, I think you can really boil it down to just, you know, making sure you understand the health of your organization.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, yeah. I mean, this is why, it's interesting. This is why a lot of companies, even though all these vendors offer, like, we'll scan for free and show you how crappy your environment is, people don't take them up on that because a lot of people don't want to know, because they immediately know, now I need to go fix it. And now it's like, once the evidence is presented to me, I can't pretend I don't know it anymore. There's, well, do you want to be more secure, or not? Kind of thing. Sometimes you have to take the tough medicine, which is not what a lot of people want to hear. Sravich, you're nodding your head on that, and I'm sure you run into this all the time. Yes.
Yeah. There's a starting problem. There's a prioritization problem. Okay. Now that I have all these issues, where do I start? Right. That's the second thing. So one is you're uncomfortable with the results. Second is where do I start? I've got all these things that you've uncovered for me. How do I prioritize and how do I start? But then finally, what is the financial investment, both from a dollar value standpoint and from an effort standpoint, that is required to do it? All of that creates, to Tony's point from earlier, an entropy and an inertia that just keeps expanding and expanding, that makes things worse over time.
What is it? We haven't actually, we've made it this far, not mentioning AI, and I'm going to do it now. What is it in the provable security landscape that AI is helping with the most right now?
I see AI doing three things today, day in and day out, and this is running in production with hundreds of customers. The first one is, I think Melody has this question earlier. We see AI effectively completing security questionnaires with
We've seen a lot of vendors do this a lot.
Yeah. And between an 80 to 95% success rate depending on the questionnaire. And the reason they're able to do that is, I think LLMs have come a long way in reasoning and being able to answer these questions effectively. But the question that Melody brought up is, how do you solve for hallucinations? And I think what I've seen with a lot of vendors who you've seen, David, that claim they have accuracy, is they don't account for hallucinations because their AI typically works off of knowledge bases. And these knowledge bases were manually maintained by humans. And so I think the AI that answers security questionnaires should not work off just knowledge bases, but should work off of your underlying controls, your procedures, your policies, and should have citations back to those documents so that you can know if the answers are being accurate or truthful. Right? So that's one use case. The second use case is AI being used to continuously test your controls. This is the point that Tony made earlier. A human cannot test 200 to 300 controls in an enterprise day in and day out. Just not possible. And we see AI doing that effectively. And then the third use case that we see a lot of AI for is third-party risk management. I was talking to a Fortune 100 enterprise last week, where they proudly told me that they have a team of 7 people that assess 400 vendors a quarter. And as soon as I heard that, I said, your assessment is BS, because you're manual. You can't make me believe that you are looking at documents and responses from 400 vendors a quarter with just 7 people and doing a good job doing it. But AI can do it effectively. If you train the AI well, it can collect documentation and information from a bunch of vendors and automate how you can do third-party risk assessment. So those are 3 use cases I see AI already working at scale and doing it really well.
All right. Quick answer, Tony, and then I need to wrap up the show. Where have you seen AI most effective in your work?
I think, any place you need something that's always on, is where I think it's been, most effective. I think some places in technology, especially around small LLMs, in spaces like the help desk where you have some history, those are some really great areas where AI has been helpful. I also think that AI has been really great in like business email compromise. I think there's been some, great uses for cyber around, because you're getting. I remember one large enterprise. I had to go. I was talking to the board of directors, and I had to let them know you get about less than 1% of your email in your inbox, and I think the whole room went silent. They're like, I received 1% of my email. I said, yeah, 99% of your email, all of it, is trash, right? It's junk, it's phishing. And I think that's where I think we've really cut our teeth with the AI is on, making sure we can get deeper, especially business email compromise, which can be, very challenging, is where we've used, I think, AI the best. And if we can learn from that and apply that into other areas of cyber, I think it's going to help us, because I think that's what the end looks like for AI, is that security should be something that's always on, always using all the data, always using information about your third parties on a minute by minute basis, not once a year when the questionnaire comes, not twice a year when we've got, the SOC audit or an update to the SOC audit. That's where we need to get to.
Awesome. All right. Let me do a quick thing to wrap this up. And then if we have 1 minute, I will get some final comments from both of you. But let me just, just thank Trust Cloud for sponsoring this very episode of the Super Cyber Friday. Thank you so much, Sravish, for Trust Cloud support of the CISO series. So thank you very much. Remember, before I forget, go to the because we only have a few minutes left, go to the poll, click on it, and we will make sure you have a warm handoff. If for some reason you don't do it, just email us directly at info@cisoseries.com. We'll also make the warm handoff that way as well. Hey, starting in about 90 minutes from now, we have another former CISO of Hyundai Capital America. That's Steve Knight, who will be joining us for our show, Cybersecurity Headlines. That's over on YouTube. So go over to the youtube.com/CISO series, or just go to cisoseries.com, and you will see it right there as well. That's also you can participate in the news discussion for the week. It's a shorter show. And then stick around for a meetup. Let's make that link appear. There it is. Click on it right now and join us for our discussion on Discord. We would love to see all of you there. We can talk more about Provable Security or anything that is on your mind. Just a chance to meet with your fellow cyber friends. I hope to see you over there. All right. With that being said, and you will hear about our next shows, those will come up soon enough. And we have just about 2 minutes left. Quickly, Sravish, anything we didn't talk about that we should have mentioned on the show, get it out now. Spit it out.
Continuous control monitoring. Every CISO should implement an accurate continuous control monitoring program so that they bring technology to enable truth and trust in their security program.
Awesome. Tony, what about you? What did we talk about that we should all be doing?
I think making sure, as a CISO overall, you think about get more visibility, get more intelligence, and, get as much data as you can on unknown unknowns.
All right. Excellent. All right. Well, thank you both very much. I want to thank also my producers, Rich and Josh, and also Chris, for making this episode possible. And I want to thank everyone and also Rich for jumping in when my computer was having its issues, but we were able to get back in action as well. And then here, remember, friends don't send friends security questionnaires. Let me ask you, has anyone in the chat room, go ahead and speak up, has anyone enjoyed receiving one? No. No one says yay. Join us. Everyone click the button on the bottom, especially if you haven't gone before. I want to see you face to face. Let's chat. Let's have a conversation. We're going to be there for the next half hour. Go ahead and click it. Thank you to Tony Spinelli, formerly over at Capital One. Thank you to Sravish Sridhar as well. And thank you to our audience. Take us out, Josh.